Welcome back, everyone! My name is Josh, and welcome to the 4th episode of Taste of Nostalgia. This series covers games that were a big part of my childhood, games that I've spent countless hours over the years playing, games that continue to bring me a sense of nostalgia every time I boot them up without fail. But why do they make me feel nostalgic? What makes these games special to me? What memories always come flooding back to me when I pick up the controller and boot up the game? These questions and more will all be answered as I break these games down and relive pieces of my childhood for you. During the making of these episodes, I play through these games once again from start to finish and write the script as I go so I never miss a memory or story that comes back to me when I play these games again. Also, if you enjoy this series and want to see more, consider subscribing and letting me know what you want to see next. Now let's get into it. So, the game I will be discussing in this episode is none other than Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter was introduced to me by some childhood friends of mine when I was roughly 6-ish years old. I have beaten this game too many times to count over the years. Growing up, I considered this game to actually be the worst in the series, but that's only because Jak 3 was my first game of the series. So that's how I actually knew the series back then. As we will learn about the series, Jak and Daxter is a collectible game, while Jaks 2 and 3 are GTA type games. They are completely different types of games from the original Jak and Daxter. That doesn't mean I don't like this game, I really do like it. I just personally feel like the GTA style game works better for the franchise rather than being a collectible game. But again, I only think that way because Jak 3 was my first in the series. Had I played Jak and Daxter first, I'd probably have the swapped opinion. I really like how the series itself changed as the trends in gaming itself changed. When Jak and Daxter came out, the collectible games were doing really well and were very popular types of games in the gaming community. However, by the time Jak 2 came out, GTA was really popping off, and collectible games weren't nearly as popular as they were back when Jak and Daxter released. So the series evolved to match the times. This is something that you never see these days with gaming franchises, so you've got to respect Naughty Dog for evolving the franchise to stay relevant at the time. Jak and Daxter has provided me with many memories over the years that I've played it. My favorite memories in this game mostly involve the boss fights. Claw is hands down one of my favorite video game bosses of all time. I mentioned in my Donkey Kong 64 video that Mad Jack is my favorite video game boss. Claw though is hands down in my top 3, alongside Mad Jack and Bongo Bongo from Ocarina of Time, but we'll get to him later though. I have always been a massive fan of collectible games. I grew up playing collectible games like Donkey Kong 64 and Super Mario 64, so as a kid, it was very easy for me to get into this game when I first played it. Another fun story, I actually played the Jak and Daxter games in reverse order. My first game that introduced me to this series was Jak 3. After I finished that, I played through Jak 2, and then finally played Jak and Daxter at the end. Jak and Daxter has a very simple story, as do most collectible games. The game starts off with Daxter getting turned into a furry ocelot thing, while the two are out sneaking around Misty Island. They set out on a quest to find Gaul, the expert in Dark Eco, who Samos says is the only person who has a chance of changing Daxter back to his original form. We don't learn what Daxter actually is until Jak 3 though. Before we set out on our quest, Samos has us go to Geyser Rock for training. This is the game's tutorial, and it also introduces you to all the game's collectibles, precursor orbs, power cells, and scout flies, as well as gives you an introduction to Blue Eco, one of the many forms of Eco in this game. This game has a great tutorial that doesn't drag on for too long, so I can really appreciate that. We clear out Geyser Rock and get all the collectibles, and move on to Sandover Village. In Sandover Village, there are a handful of power cells we can obtain here, and all of which are pretty simple and straightforward. We do tasks like breeding the villagers 90 orbs for a power cell, or by herding yakos for some farmer who is probably dead. We need 20 power cells for the zoomer to get us to the second world. However, I want to get more than 20, so that way I can justify skipping some of the annoying levels in this game later on. This game has a really nice menu, by the way. At least, I think. You just press start and you can easily check which power cells you have and what you have to do to earn other power cells that you have already received a hint towards. I know menus like these are staples in collection games, but I feel like Jak and Daxter has one of the best in any collection game I've played. Any game that doesn't have Donkey Kong 64's pause menu is good in my books. We clear up Sandover Village for now and make our way to Sentinel Beach. This area is pretty linear and easy to clear out, as are most of the first world levels besides Misty Island. We clear out the beach by doing standard beach activities such as chasing birds until they cause a landslide. With Sentinel Beach cleared out, we head to the Forbidden Jungle. I loved this level as a kid, and I still feel that way to this day. This level is somewhat linear, but not really. This forest has one of my favorite minigames though in gaming, the fishing minigame. We come across a fisherman down on his luck who is having a hard time catching fish in the creek. So, you control the net by moving it from side to side, catching as many fish as we can until we reach the fisherman's limit, while avoiding poisonous eels, which will immediately fail the minigame. It's very straightforward, and this minigame is so much fun. It's up there with the Ape Escape Flying Saucer minigame. It's not quite as good as it, but it's up there for sure. The first few worlds here are really good tutorials for Blue Eco. I find that the forest to be the best one, as you're always needing it to open up a door or jump around on some platforms while investigating an ancient precursor temple. There is also a plant boss monster thing at the bottom of the temple. Defeating it will kill off all of the weird spike root things all around the world. This boss fight is not that hard and gives us an easy power cell. When you jump on his head after you defeat him, you squeeze out a few extra precursor orbs. As a kid trying to 100% this game for the first time, this took me forever to figure out. I didn't have access to the internet back then, so it's not like I could simply Google how to find all the orbs in the forest. I don't remember exactly how I figured it out, I just remember the satisfaction of accidentally stumbling on the answer to a question that had been frustrating me. Good times. After clearing out the forest, we return to Sandover Village and get some remaining power cells. At the end of it, we have 24 power cells and are ready to head to Rock Village. I could have gotten more if I did Misty Island, but Misty Island is one of, if not my least favorite location in the game. It's really slow, and a lot of power cells are pretty tedious to get, at least in my opinion. I'm not going to go for the 100% run, as I have 100%ed this game too many times to count. I'm just here for the story and replaying some of my favorite levels. We have to cross over the lava canyon while keeping the zoomer cool. To keep it cool, we have to either hit these balloons or ramp off of lurkers or ramps to get enough air to cool off the zoomer. I'm not gonna lie, I struggled with this time around. I have no idea why I was playing so bad, but I was. I made it to the end on my second attempt, but it felt like it took me much longer. Maybe because of how bad each attempt was. Anyways, I backtracked and got the 7 scout flies on the route. With that, we can start the second world in the game, Rock Village. Rock Village is hands down my favorite world in the game. All the areas here, except for one, is a great time. We'll get to that later though. This world also has one of my favorite bosses in gaming, Claw. We will also get to him later. We arrive in Rock Village and learn that the Blue Sage partied so hard he vanished. He partied himself to a new realm of existence. In order to get to Claw, we need more power cells to move the boulder that blocks the path to get to him. Time to go collecting again. Thankfully we can get more than enough power cells in these new areas to where I don't have to go back and do Misty Island. Thankfully. We start off by talking to the villagers, one being a major gambler and the other being some depressed guy who got his ass kicked by Claw. They both have some quests we can do for power cells in addition to purchasing some from them also. One thing I always found funny as a kid is that this knight dude has the floating platforms to get to Claw tied up and will only release them if you pay him 90 precursor orbs. However, you don't even need to pay him the orbs. You don't even need the platforms to get to Claw. You can just quickly swim over and reach the other side before the lurker shark gets you. I still find that pretty funny to this day. I really like learning about little cheese routes in games like this. The first area we start off with is Boggy Swamp. Boggy Swamp has grown on me over the years. As a kid, I didn't care much for this area and would always save it for last. I don't remember why I didn't like this area, but I just didn't. Nowadays, I really enjoy this swamp area. The power cells are a lot of fun to get, and there is a fun little mini game here also. The only downside, which is a pretty big issue to me, is how linear this area is. Boggy Swamp is very, very linear. It's a straight path through and through. I hate straight path areas in any game, not just Collectathon games. Even with the poor level design, however, Boggy Swamp is still a fun area to play. I collected all the power cells and precursor orbs here, and moved on to Precursor Basin. Precursor Basin is a level that I don't know what to think about. The whole level is done on the zoomer, and it's a wide open, non-linear level. However, a lot of the power cells here are extremely tedious. Power cells like the purple rings and blue rings, as well as hunting down the flying lurkers, are a major pain in the ass. As a kid, precursor basin would always be the first area I would clear out when I got to Rock Village. I'm always a let's do the worst first kind of guy, and as a kid I considered this level so annoying to the point where I would just want to do it first and get it over with. On this playthrough, I actually didn't mind it. I crushed the ring challenges and caught the lurkers without much issue. I think it's the easiest precursor basin I've ever had. No complaints here though. I cleared out all the power cells in precursor basin and moved on to my favorite level in the whole game, Lost Precursor City. Lost Precursor City is hands down my favorite area in the whole game. As a kid, I would boot this game up and just find myself wandering around Lost Precursor City for hours on end. I love the design of this area and the water aesthetic, and still do to this day. The relaxed soundtrack complements the area very well, and this area is very relaxing to explore on its own. Much like a lot of the areas in this game, Lost Precursor City is pretty linear. It's not completely linear, as each door leads to a new area, and most areas for the most part are one after another, but this area does branch off in a few places, and for the most part, is fairly linear. It still doesn't change my opinion on Lost Precursor City though. I love this world so much, and to this day, it is one of, if not my favorite Collectathon levels ever. There are also these two slides that you do in Lost Precursor City, and I was honestly super bad at them as a kid. However, in this round, they only took me a couple tries to get through. I consider that a win. I clear out Lost Precursor City and make my way up to Claw. We return to the blue eco machine and lift the boulder out of the way and make our way up the hill to Claw. Claw, as I said in the beginning, is hands down one of my favorite video game bosses of all time. Look at his design and tell me that he doesn't look like a badass. He's like what a Mega Magmortar would look like in Pokemon. Am I the only one who thinks that? This fight is simple in concept. You dodge boulders he shoots at you, then use blue eco to run up a platform, and then shoot yellow eco at him while he summons a large boulder. Unfortunately, this boss fight absolutely kicked my ass. I kept making really bad reads and ended up taking more tries than I'm proud to admit defeating him. As a kid, I loved this fight and never really had an issue fighting Claw. For some reason though, in this playthrough, Claw is just out to get me. Coupled with my poor platforming skills, made for the perfect storm in my struggles in this boss fight. After like 5 minutes, I finally defeated Claw, and we can now advance through Mountain Pass. There's always a zoomer section that separates the worlds in this game. It makes it so you can't just run between the worlds in a normal playthrough. So, we run through Mountain Pass while racing flying lurkers who are trying to blow up the valley. We stop them and make our way to the third and final area, Volcanic Crater. We arrive in the final main area of the game. Volcanic Crater is the last main world before the final boss area, which I don't count as its own world. I could count the Citadel as its own level, but it's just one area and doesn't have any branching areas, so I don't count it. In my opinion, most of the areas in Volcanic Crater are very annoying and tedious. Spider Cave is tedious and not fun, and there's that god-awful snow level that is just super slow and annoying, and you're always sliding around. I'm skipping that one, by the way. When we arrive in the lab, we learn that Gaul and Maya are actually the main villains in this game. The very people that we set out to find to help Daxter are actually the ones trying to kill us. Yeah, it's a fun little plot twist. We need 72 power cells to get to Gaul and Maya's Citadel. It's an oddly specific number. Thankfully, I can purchase some power cells in the village from the miners, and clear Spider Cave, and then have enough to get to the Citadel. I'm skipping the snow level because I find it very annoying and tedious to complete. There isn't really a whole lot to say about Spider Cave, so I'm going to take this opportunity to share my thoughts on the game as a whole. I really like this game. This game is nostalgic to me, but that's not why I enjoy playing this game. It is, in my opinion, a solid collectathon. I find that a lot of the worlds are very enjoyable, and the plot is simple to follow, and it isn't interrupting you as you play through the game. This game, though, does have issues. My main issue with this game is the amount of boss fights. Besides Claw and Gaul and Maya, there aren't any boss fights in this game. I don't count that plant monster because you don't have to beat him to get to any new area. There should be more bosses in this game, instead of just having a fire path to navigate at the end of the first and third worlds. Also, there are a handful of worlds that are very tedious to complete. However, I'm calling this a minor issue as you can just skip the areas and still have enough power cells to beat the game. There is also the portal at the end of the game that opens when you collect every power cell and get 100%. I'll explain though in my Jak 2 video why I don't like how the portal is handled here. All in all though, I still think Jak and Daxter is a very solid game and is always a fun time to play through. With Spider Cave finished up, we now have enough power cells to make it to Gaul and Maya's Citadel. It's time for the final boss. Once again, we navigate a fire path and arrive in the final area, Gaul and Maya's Citadel. When we arrive at the Citadel, we learn from Kira that Samos has gone missing and that Gaul and Maya captured him and took him to the Citadel. We also learn that all the other sages are at the Citadel being forced to power an ancient precursor robot which Gaul and Maya plan to use to open up the dark eco silos and flood the world with dark eco, destroying everything. So naturally, it's forced upon us to stop them. To free each sage, we have to do some platforming and other little challenges using the various forms of eco. After freeing each sage, we get a power cell. As a kid, I never had an issue with the Citadel. It honestly is not that difficult, but that's okay. The final fight makes up for it. We free the sages and make our way to the top of the Citadel, ready to fight Gaul and Maya in the ancient precursor robot. I love this boss fight. It is the right amount of difficulty without being unfair. You just survive either a wave of enemies or weapon assaults from that robot that it throws at you. Then, when they try to open the silo, you shoot yellow eco at them and slowly destroy the robot, while using blue eco to dodge their bombs that they throw at you. It is a really simple boss fight, but it is challenging to the point where it's fun and rewarding. I struggled hard with this boss fight as a kid. However, as a kid, I never thought that this fight was unfair. It was difficult, but fair. It would take me a while to win, but it was still satisfying to finally win and finish the game as a kid. This all still holds true to this day, even the whole struggling with the fight part. I struggled with this fight during this run. I don't make excuses, I just struggled and made bad reads during some of the waves. I eventually finished the fight by using light eco, which randomly shows up and used to destroy the robot and drown Gaul and Maya in the dark eco silo. One thing that I don't get about this fight is the light eco. Not that it just shows up out of nowhere, but how it is handled in Jak 3. In this cutscene, it is noted that the light eco could be used to restore Daxter to his original form, which he declines in favor of saving the world. That's not the problem though. The problem is that in Jak 3, the light eco is nowhere near this overpowered. It is used to balance the darkness inside of Jak and grant him new abilities like flying and regeneration. So, is there like a difference between the light eco in the first and third games? If not, how is light eco so abundant in like vents and whatnot in Jak 3? And how can Daxter not be changed back because of it? Also, how does Daxter even know that light eco will even fix him? Light eco wasn't even mentioned in this game until now. So many questions that don't have answers. If they do have answers and I'm just forgetting something, let me know down below. Either way, we finish off Gaul and Maya and finish the game. We notice the giant door, and that is where this journey will end, and where Jak 2 will begin. If you have made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I had a blast playing through Jak and Daxter again. Getting to experience Jak and Daxter again was such an amazing time and trip down memory lane, and I sure hope that this video was as fun for you to watch as it was for me to make. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like on it, and if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Let me know down below what game's making you nostalgic. What memories do you have of the game? Do you still play it to this day? I read all the comments and do my best to reply to them as quickly as I can. Who knows, you might inspire a new video to appear on this series. On the side note, there might be a bit of a delay from this episode to the next one. I'm going to be starting 2 new series on this channel, hopefully this week, maybe later this week, I am not sure, but I'm planning on 2 new series coming to the channel. Non-scripted, just video game playthrough stuff. Also, I don't know if Jak 2 will be the next video in this series. I'm not sure if I'm gonna just do Jak 2 and then Jak 3 and then just do the whole trilogy as the next episodes in this series, or if I'm gonna move to a different game and then come back to them at a different time. I'm gonna try to keep them close together relatively. I'm not 100% sure yet though on that. Just wanted to give a quick update on everything. Once again, thank you all for watching and have a nice day.